Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how you can automatically render multiple cameras, even with different backgrounds and various lighting setups, to separate files with varying resolutions. This is perfect for product visualization, where you have a single product you want to render placed into different scenes, and for different targets like this 2x3 high-res image for a magazine cover, this square one for Instagram, and this 16:9 for a desktop background. You don't have to manually select each camera, hide and unhide objects and lights, configure environments, and then manually render each image out by hand. You can render all of these images with the press of a single button. And you don't need any plugins for this, it's all built into Blender. Let's get started. So here I am in Blender 2.8. And first thing I'm going to do is delete everything. Now I'm just gonna place a monkey head. This is going to be the product that I want to visualize. Of course, for your scene, you might have, I don't know, an MP3 player with some headphones or something. So here I have Suzanne.
It's Shushan.
Subdivide by 2, W, shade smooth, rotate, and I'm just gonna place it right here. And then I'm just gonna duplicate it, scale it down a little. I don't know, place a little one over here. Okay, so this is my very simple product scene. Of course, they also need a material, and I'm just gonna give them sort of a pinkish surface, and also assign it to the small monkey. Okay, this is my product that I want to render out to different images. Now I switch over to scenes right here, and the default scene that I started with, I'm going to rename to product. Now the trick to rendering everything out into different images with different lighting setups, different backgrounds, is using scenes. So for example, let's start with the Instagram scene. So I create a new scene, call it Insta, and in this scene, I want a sort of a white seamless backdrop. So extrude scene and select this, Control B, scroll up a little, W, shade smooth. So this is my seamless backdrop. I give it a material, white back. Reduce the specularity, increase the roughness so that it's sort of like a white paper. Now to get the monkey into this scene, we can actually use a built-in feature in Blender. Right here, background scene, in the scene tab, we can bring in everything from a different scene. So of course, we're just going to bring in our product. Increase the size of this a bit. Now we need some lighting, so let's put in some lights, an area light, place it back here, rotate it like this, give it sort of a bluish tint, energy 5, duplicate it, bring it over to this side, and that's gonna be our key light, so it's gonna be bigger, maybe warmer color, like so. Up above. This one is probably more like down here. Okay, so this is our lighting. Let's switch over to rendered view. This is what it looks like. Now, of course, we also need a camera. So let's bring that in and place it over here. Now right away I have to go to my output settings because this is the Instagram scene. The Instagram scene is going to be a square 1080 by 1080. So when I look through the camera by pressing 0 on the numpad, This is what I get. And I'm just going to place the camera like this. And in rendered view, so this is going to be the Instagram image. And here I have a bit of an issue because I need to bring up my ground plane, my white backdrop. Okay. So this is our Instagram scene. Let me also change some of the light settings here. Contact shadow, softness, just make it look nice. Okay, I might also switch on screen space reflections in Eevee to make it look better. So this is our product visualized for Instagram. Of course, you can do complicated lighting setups, complicated backdrops, whatever you want to put in your scene here. Okay, this is it. Instagram done. Let me just save the file. I'm gonna call it tutorial01 and save it. Now I want to render my product also for, let's say, a magazine cover. So I create a new scene. I call it mag for magazine. In the scene tab, I bring in my product again. And for the magazine, I'm going to add just a simple plane. Give it a new material, make it metallic, very dark. Reduce the roughness. In this scene, I'm going to just bring in a couple of point lamps. So maybe one back here and another one over here. This one is going to be blue and this one is going to be red. Again, I need a camera for this layout. So what I'm gonna do is bring it up. I set the output settings for the magazine cover to 2500 by 3600, which is sort of a 2x3, paper format. And it looks like this. Okay. So let me just pull it back a little and place my product visualization, I don't know, like this. So if this is the magazine, here we have the magazine title, we might have some text on the left here and some on the bottom. So we want this sort of composition. Maybe I want to move over a little and look at it like this. Do something like this. Okay, what does that look like rendered? Looks like that. Okay. Again, screen space reflections for our metallic floor. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna bring in another little point lamp, like right here. Reduce the energy just to have a little bit of a light in the front. So this, looking through the magazine camera, this is our magazine scene. Okay, and just for fun, we also create, let's say, a Facebook cover image. So we create a new scene. I go right here. Facebook is 851 by 315 pixels. So that's the resolution for this scene. I called it FB for Facebook. I bring in the product. And here I'm actually going to add in just the camera that I position below, looking up, maybe a little bit from the right, like this. So this is going to be our Facebook scene. And for this, I'm not gonna use any, I'm not gonna use any lights or lamps. I'm just gonna do a environment texture, open, HDRI Haven, free HDR lights, and it looks like this. I save the file, and before I can render these images out with these set resolutions here, I need to define file names, and I can do that down here. So this is the Facebook scene. I'm just gonna use //fb. The / at the beginning just tells Blender to use the relative path, which means the output image is going to be rendered into the same directory that the blend file is in. The Insta scene, which is the square one here, just gonna call Insta. And then we have the magazine cover, and that we call mag. Save the file. And now, in order to render these three images out just with one press of a button, we have to go to our command line. Now this might sound scary to some people, but it is very, very simple. So here I went right into the directory that my file is in. Now I need to start Blender, which is C program files, Blender Foundation, and then 2.8, and I'm going to start blender.exe. First parameter is -b, which tells Blender not to open a window, but to just run in the command line in the background. Then I have to tell Blender which file to open, so tutorial01.blend. And now I can tell Blender what to do. So first up, I want to open the scene called Facebook, or FB. And I want to render a frame. And which frame? You know, you could have an animation, so I want to render first frame. If I wanted to render an entire animation, I could just use -a, but I just want the first frame. Then I want to select scene Insta and render frame 1. And then I want to select a scene magazine and render frame 1. Now let me move this over a little and open this directory here. Right. And now I hit enter. Blender opens the file, renders the first scene, renders the second scene, and renders the third scene. And it's all done. And the three files are here. Square one, 1080 by 1080 for Instagram, the high resolution image for the magazine cover, and the Facebook cover image. So this is already pretty cool, but we can take it even a step further. Let's say we go to the Facebook scene, and I don't want to use Eevee, I want to use cycles for this. I switch over to GPU, enable border, okay, and maybe I don't want the sky in the background. I can enable transparency on the film, so this is going to be transparent. I might also add a single point lamp down here just to make it look more interesting. Okay, so now the Facebook scene is going to be rendered in cycles using GPU. Let me delete those all three images, and I just hit cursor up and execute the same command again. And here we go, rendering three images. So the first one is now rendered in Cycles, and then the Instagram one and the magazine cover. So this is pretty nice. You don't have to be scared of using the command line here for rendering, because if one of those images takes like an hour to render, you don't have to babysit your computer. You just set it up once, and when you know that your scenes are set up and everything is set up the way you want it, you just execute this command and go drink some coffee. Now, one last thing I want to show you here is you can even use this to render a comparison between Cycles and Eevee. You don't have to go in here and then change everything and manually render things out. You can use the command line. So let's take the Facebook scene, right? So Facebook scene, we know that we set this up to be rendered in Cycles. We render frame number 1. And then we're just going to use scene Facebook. We want the render engine Blender Eevee. We want to change the output so that it doesn't overwrite the same file. We just give it a different name. We call it fbev.png. Those hashtag symbols here will be replaced by the frame number. And then we render frame number 1. Okay. Let me delete those 3 images here again and execute this command. So now Blender is rendering the Facebook scene. First rendering in Cycles, and then the same thing rendered in Eevee. And I didn't have to go in here. I didn't have to change any of these settings. I didn't have to mess around in my file with my scenes. I just rendered the same thing in Cycles and in Eevee. Another thing I would like to mention is that the scenes also have their own compositors. So for example, let's go to the Instagram scene and enable use nodes. I just hit F12 quick so that we get a rendering from the Instagram scene. And right here you can see Insta view layer, and we can, for example, add I don't know, sort of camera, a lens distortion effect. Really heavy one maybe. You can see here the lens distortion. Let's use some crazy values. So now the Instagram scene will have this compositing layout, and let's go back to the Facebook scene that's rendered in Cycles. I give this a quick render. And in the compositor here, for the Facebook scene, we might, I don't know, use an alpha over with a dark blue background. Oops, other way around. So like this. Since we're rendering in Cycles with transparency, we can now place a blue background here. And going back to the command line here, and I'm executing this command again. The Facebook rendering here now has the blue background from the compositor, and the Instagram image has the lens distortion. And all I had to do was hit enter on this command. Okay guys, this is it for this tutorial. I hope you learned a thing or two. Let me know in the comments down below if this will help you with your renderings. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye.